What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Track That Harmonic. I'm your host, Lord MC, where we talk about everything related in the stock market. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about what we can expect in the days to come with some major economic events that are about to happen with the help of harmonic analysis. But before I get into that, I want to preface by saying I am not a financial advisor. None of the things I say in my videos or anywhere else is ever financial advice, so question everything, do your own research, and come out with your own conclusions. So I just quickly wanted to cover, for those that don't know what harmonic analysis is, so I'm going to briefly explain it and not get in too in-depth, but harmonic analysis is just a technical analysis approach that uses Fibonacci ratios and other patterns to identify potential reversal points in the market. It's based on the idea that markets move in waves, and these waves tend to repeat themselves over time. So using this type of strategy is what I use in my trading style, and with the upcoming events that are happening this week, we can potentially see where these price action or where the price action may potentially go, right? We do have the FOMC minutes right before the bell tomorrow, Wednesday, and then on Thursday we have the GDP rate as well, and the PCE index on Friday to finish off the week. So for those of you who don't know what the FOMC minutes are, they're just a record of the Federal Reserve's most recent meeting. They provide insights into the thinking and decision-making process of the central bank, which can impact the market. So a lot of the traders will be looking for clues about the Fed's plans for interest rates and monetary policy. Second, the GDP rate, which is the second economic event that's going to be happening on Thursday. That GDP rate is the gross domestic product rate, which is a measure of the country's economic output. So it's one of the most important economic indicators, and it can give us an idea of how well the economy is performing. If the GDP rate is higher than expected, it could be a positive sign for the stock market. Finally, the PCE index, or the Personal Consumption Expenditures Index, is also a measure of inflation. Inflation has major concern for investors as of recent, as you guys can tell. So the PCE index will be closely watched. If the index is higher than expected, it could lead to a sell-off in the stock market. So that comes in on Friday. It's going to be a very important thing to watch, especially because the Fed is watching the PCE. So what can we expect in the days to come? Well, it's kind of be difficult to say and predict exactly what can happen. Nobody knows. But based on harmonic analysis, these upcoming events, we can make some educated guesses. So having said that, let's jump right into the SPY here. So SPY on the day went as high as 404.16, and the low being 398.82 before closing that day at 399.09. Significant day, this push down. With volume, so this is very concerning here. I had a line in the sand for me that I did not want the SPY to lose, and that was 404, because if you had lost 404, SPY would more than likely come back to test target 1, this 399.39 level from this ABCD bearish harmonic pattern, and it exactly did that. You did close below the 200 EMA. So what can we expect here harmonically? So in harmonics, you get two types of reaction. You're doing this type 1 reaction. The next type of reaction you're looking for, if it reverses, is that type 2 return back up to hop potentially. We would like to see volume step up here. So having said that, we do need a couple of days to see whether this is going to continue going, see if bulls are going to step up here at that 399.39 level. You have the HSI here almost approaching oversold, and the AMP RSI as well. So you still maybe have a little push down. Maybe you test down to that 397, 396 range, maybe at worst the 395. But you definitely want to bounce off from here for the bulls in order to come back up, because you do have the EMAs curling, and you're about to have one of the major crossovers here if you use the EMA strategy is the 921. So bulls definitely need to step up here. Otherwise, you may continue here if you don't come down here. If you don't hold support here at 396, if I bring out my drawings, these are previous harmonic levels from different patterns. For me personally, if you lose 399.39, the next target SPY could potentially go down to is that 396.13. 396.13 is a very key level harmonically. It's where we broke out when we tested for 18. So if you break down from 399, you're more than likely potentially look to come down and test 396.13. Failing that, you come down to 393 and then 390. After 390, you may test 387, which is the target 2 at 387.71 off of this bearish harmonic ABCD pattern, which would complete a beautiful type 1 reaction up to target 2 should you lose these key levels here. It's too early to tell. Definitely want to see if this is going to play out. There's another thing that you can have this little wonky what looks like a cup and handle here, right? You are about to lose. You need to hold this level here on this midline of this cup, because if you keep losing this levels here, that pattern will be invalidated. You do have an HSI dot that triggered here back in on Thursday the 9th, and if you follow this here harmonically as an HSI dot is usually confirmation of potential further downside. So if you got in here, you made some decent money. So what I am looking forward for next is that type 2 return or type 2 reversal back up to hop. But I would like to see volume stepping up here, because you did break the bullish trend here. So now you are starting to create lower lows and lower highs. So we definitely need to have that come back in place. Otherwise, we're going to continue pushing down below. So jumping over here to the triple Qs. So the triple Qs did close negative 2.37% for the day. It went as high as 298.73, the low being 293.94, closing the day at 294.03. Just like the SPY here, you did lose the 200 EMA here. You're possibly going to come test the 200, or in this case where the 50 EMA is at is around 290.53. The triple Qs has this bearish shark pattern where you are now also coming down for a type 1 reaction to possibly test target 1 at 283.97. Unlike SPY, the triple Qs has yet to do that type 1 reaction up to its target 1. So could this continue coming lower? Maybe, potentially. You do have the HSI still not oversold, or the AMP RSI oversold as well. So maybe you can come down to that 283. Should you lose that 290 level, you're more than likely potentially testing 283.97, in which case you finish a type 1 reaction, and then you expect a type 2 return back up to these levels here at terminal at 313, 318, and 326. Too early to tell. I do have a specific previous harmonic level here at 293.26. Should you lose that, it likes to trade between 293 and 276. You do have support here, but if it does find support here, you can maybe come back to test in this range between 294 and 318. So it's too early to tell for me to see if this is going to hold. So we definitely want, if you're going long, you definitely want to flip again with volume. Otherwise, you're going to continue pushing down to test possibly that 50 EMA here around 290. So we'll definitely keep an eye out on that. Jumping over to the Dow Jones here. The Dow Jones has did finish the day at negative 2% for the day. Went as high as 335, the low being 331 before closing the day at 331.25. So it looks like to me it wants to come down here to test the 200 EMA. The 200 EMA is at 330.05. So if you come down there and don't hold the 330, this 200 EMA, you can come back down to target 2 to test 322. Coincidentally, that's where the 200 SMA is. If you continued sell off, you potentially come back to target 1 at 309.97. Like I said, like everything else, this is still kind of consolidating. If you can look at this as a giant bull flag, it's kind of, respecting here the 200 EMA. It has been holding on to the 200 EMA for a while now, has yet to lose it since back all the way in October. So the 200 EMA has been respected on the Dow Jones. So it's a huge level of support. Just like anything else, you want to continue holding this above the 200 EMA to be a little bit more bullish, because if you come down losing the 200 EMA, that's a bit concerning and it's a bit bearish. So the Dow Jones does need to continue holding this level, otherwise you're going to come down, test the 200, or specifically the target 2 at 322. But we will keep an eye out on that. Jumping over to VIX real quick, we want to check out what VIX is doing. VIX did gap up here, and it's currently at 22.88. It did test the 200 EMA. Kind of hard to chart the VIX, but it's definitely something to look at, because anything above 1920, in my opinion, you're coming back into that bear market sentiment. So at any given moment, you could have the VIX just push up to that 25, which will be very, very concerning for the market. So we will definitely keep an eye out on that to see if it comes back to 2168 and test the terminal bar here at 2121 to where it left that gap. So definitely keep an eye out on that. HSI did cross the midline, so maybe you can come push up again, test the 200, or even $24, $25. So very concerning. Definitely keep an eye out on VIX. But let's jump over real quick to Apple here. remove my drawings here. So Apple on the day did finish negative 2.6% for the day, went as high as 151.30, low being 148.41 before closing the day at 148.48. So off of this bullish bat pattern, you had a beautiful type 1 reaction. You almost touched target 2 here, fell a little short. So now are you coming back down to do that type 2 return here, or type 2 reversal here, back down to target 1 at 147, then potentially 134? You did lose a key level here from previous harmonic levels. If I bring out my drawings here, bear with me. I know there's a lot of lines, but these are crucial lines within harmonics that I've been tracking for a while now. So one of the things that is very concerning that I did not like Apple to lose was that 150.09, and you did lose it with volume. Almost matched, give or take, 200 minus 200,000 or 200 million. Did I make that math? No, 200,000 difference from Friday's close. So you lost 150.09 with volume, and you came down below the below the 21 EMA here. So the next level of support that I do have for Apple is at 148.05. I would really like Apple to hold this, because if it starts losing this level of 148.05, you could potentially test that target 1 area at 147.56 and more than likely fill that gap around 146.65. Should you lose specifically 148.05, you can come back down all the way down to this range between 148 to 140, where it has been broken down from. And as you could tell from here, you broke down from here, you came down all the way, even up to that 137. So this range here, if you lose it on Apple, you're more than likely, with volume, you could potentially come down to that 140. So you definitely have some support here at that target 1 at 147.56, where that 200 EMA is at, and the 200 SMA. So should you lose that, you come down to that 144 and then maybe 140. So very concerning to see the MACD did start to flip red here for that possible trend reversal. So to see if this is coming down, I still think, you did kind of break that trend here. Maybe you have a little bit more wiggle room, but you are starting to create lower lows and lower highs. So definitely keep an eye out on Apple. Just quickly wanted to mention the HSI still has room to the downside, as well as AMP RSI. So you can come back down to test target 147 and then bounce back up. So definitely keep an eye out on Apple. Jumping over to Microsoft here. So Microsoft, they finished negative 2.09% for the day, went as high as 255.49, the low being 251.59 before closing the day at 252.67. So you are going to have to see if this is going to hold this level here at 248.70, where the 50 EMA is. The 50 EMA is at 250.37. So harmonically, I have a level here. Should it lose 248.70, you go down to 242.50. 242.50 was one of the hardest levels for me that I saw harmonically Microsoft break out of. When you finally broke out of it, you came in, we went as high as 277, and now you're potentially could test that again should you lose 248.70. So we will keep an eye out on Microsoft. You do have significant volume picking up here, almost matching 3 days in a row. So definitely keep an eye out on that. You are below the 200, both the 200 EMA and the SMA. So you do have support here on the 50 EMA. You have the HSI signaling that it is approaching that oversold area. AMP RSI still has room, but the RSI still has even more room to push down. So we will keep an eye out on Microsoft, but you definitely do not want to go below that 248, 250 range. Otherwise, you might test that 242, and that would be very concerning, because after 242, you have, for me, harmonically 230, and then in that, my opinion, there's a gap here around 230. What is this? 225, and then this would be that 230 would, for me personally, would be capitulation on Microsoft. We still have a ways to go about that, but I would like to see a bounce here for potentially come back up, test 256, hold 256, and then maybe we can see 278 off of that target 2, off of this bullish ABCD pattern. But jumping over to Tesla here. Tesla on the day, my drawings here, did finish negative 5.25% for the day. It went as low as 197.22, high being 209.71, but closing the day at 197.37. So it did close below 200. Um, um, so that's a little concerning here, but it's trying to hold up above the 13 EMA. You have had HSI dots triggered here, 1, 2, 3. So this could potentially come back down as a level of support here to 185 and then 176. I do have previous levels here, like I said before, um, where you did break down here back on Wednesday, November the 2nd. You came down below that 224 and you came all the way down to that 177, 176 range. So it is looking like it's possibly also creating a cup and handle where you could come back all the way down to 177, maybe even to 164, 165. At the worst case, come fill that gap at 147 and then continue ripping to the upside. You do have volume to support all this push down and push up, so we will definitely keep an eye out on that. Harmonically, I can't tell you anything on the daily. Maybe I do believe there's maybe one on the 4-hour. Or the 2-day, actually. Let's look at the 2-day. Yeah, the 2-day is much better here. So the 2-day does have a Gartley here. So you did break up above XA for a couple days. So it attempted to come back up to 223 to 225 range. Fortunately, fell short. You had an HSI arrow triggered here. So you definitely want to have, you want to hold Tesla here above 188.03 and then continue pushing back up to hopefully finish that beautiful type 1 reaction at target 1 at 267.80, where that gap fill is up there. HSI on the 2-day at least is looking like it wants to come down and test that midline. So very concerning here. If Tesla does not hold his 188, you could potentially come see that one in the mid 170s. So keep an eye out on Tesla. Jumping over to Google here. Go to the 1-day. So Google here has been taking a hit with volume as of late, right? It is decreasing on this push down, but it is now below, it got as high as 108 and is now below, just about to reach $90. You did lose major time frames here off the EMAs on the macro. On the 1-day macro, you lost the 50 EMA here, and you're below the major ones at the 200. So you do have a 921 crossover to the downside, so you could potentially continue going down here. HSI still bounced off of here, reset, and they can come back down for possibly double bottom here. If you don't hold this level, you come back down to hop at 84.79, where there is a gap fill around $82, $83. So definitely keep an eye out on Google here for potential move to the downside. Should it come back and hold this area at 91.79, you could get above 92, and then maybe you can come back at $100.03, under $3.50. It's too early to tell if that's what's going to happen, but we will definitely keep an eye out on that. You had an HSI dot triggered here, so if you had gotten around this where this indicator came out, you would have profited very nice. But Google is don't know what's, I think some AI issues going on with their thing, so definitely keep an eye out on Google. Jumping over to Meta. Meta has been holding on pretty strong compared to other blue chip stocks. You did go as high as 178.17, the low being 171.88 before closing the day at 172.08. You do have this giant gap here that is yet to fill. That gap is down all the way. The entrance of this gap now is at around 170, 169 to 154. Harmonically, I guess you have this previous harmonic pattern here, but it's past the 30 bars. But we can still look at these as level of support and resistances. So right now, you are below that XA at 172. You could potentially come back and test the 21 EMA at 168, the 200 at 160, and maybe you finish that gap at 154. So if we go, I believe, on the 3-day, maybe there's a harmonic there. Yeah, the harmonic here. You are, you reverse here back at hop. You couldn't hold above XA at 172.65, and you're coming back down here. So let's see if Tesla continues to hold here. I do think it needs to hold at 154. Otherwise, you can come back down to test 151, 142, and then you come back all the way down to the 115 range. So we will definitely keep an eye out on on Meta. And the last one I'm going to cover is Amazon here. So Amazon on the daily, you did go negative 2.7% for the day, went as high as 95.61, low being 94.27 before closing the day at 94.58. So what can we expect here for Amazon? Amazon looks like it did fill the 50 EMA here, and it's looking to test now the 50 SMA roughly around 93.80. Should it not hold this level, you do have a gap down all the way here at $90. You fill that gap, and if you continue to come down, you test this 88.09 level. Very close here, back again to capitulation areas for Amazon. Should you lose 88, you come down to 86, and then for me, you have 81.30 as capitulation levels for Amazon. So we will see if this holds above back up for resistance here at 96.31. Definitely want to break up above HOP and then potentially see 107.54. Definitely volume starts to pick up right now. A lot of things are happening at the end of this week. So this whole week in general. So we'll find out if the market is going to continue pushing on up or coming back down to possibly new lows. So having said that, that's all I have for you guys. I will be streaming tomorrow, same time as always, 15 minutes before open, maybe a little bit early because of the FOMC minutes. But having said that, if you like this type of content, please consider giving me a like, subscribe to the channel. It does help me out. Other than that, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and I hope you guys kill it tomorrow in the market. And take care, everyone. Take care, everyone, and peace.